of the microbiology, then about the food microbiology, its origin and scope, then the importance of the microorganisms in food, then the common microorganisms coming in relation with the food and the factors affecting the growth of microorganisms in food. The next is the significance of the food microbiology and also the applications of the food microbiology. So let's start from the base itself, that is from our science of microbiology itself. So as we all know that our microbiology is a very vast and a relevant branch of science, especially we know that especially in this pandemic scenario at present situation, we all know that the importance of studying about the microorganism or the importance of the science of the microbiology. As we all know now, the entire world is shaped or stuck by a single microorganism, a single virus, that is the COVID-19. So that much important are the microorganism and the science of the microbiology. Now one question, why these microorganisms are this much significant? And the one and only answer is that the microorganisms are present everywhere. We can see the microorganisms in each and every object. Then coming to our micro science of microbiology, then what is this microbiology? Microbiology is a branch of science which deals with the study of the microorganisms. Then who are these microorganisms? All living organisms that we cannot see with our naked eyes are the microorganisms. Then how can we see these microorganisms? We can see them only with the help of a microorganism. With the help of a microscope. As we all know, the microorganisms are extremely important in our everyday lives. Microbes have both the positive and negative role in everybody's lives. And some of these microorganisms are pathogenic and will lead to the diseases in humans, animals, or the plants. At the same time, some others have significant role, especially in the maintenance and the modification of our environment. And some microbes are used as biofertilizers to improve the soil fertility, whereas some are used as the biocontrol agents to suppress the many plant-borne diseases, and also some others have significant role in the industrial application. That is, many microorganisms are used in the industrial scale production of many valuable products like our food, beverages, antibiotics, etc. And also many of them have significant role in improving the immunity level of our body also. So the microorganisms are very important in our everyday lives. They have both the positive and negative impact on everyday life. Some may be disease causing, some may be causing foodborne illness, some may lead to the foodborne diseases, food spoilage, etc. At the same time, somehow positive aspects also. So many of these microorganisms are used to produce valuable food products, beverages, antibiotics, etc. And also they have the ability to convert the cheap raw materials to the valuable products. So many microorganisms have industrial application, and many have also influence in the immunity level of the host also. Then coming to the microorganism, or coming to the different species of the microorganisms, bacteria are the largest group of the unicellular microorganisms. And the pathogenic or the disease causing bacteria are mainly gram negative, and some gram positive rods are also pathogenic. Examples are the Clostridium bacillus species, etc. And the different strains of the bacteria are also used in production of various food and dairy products. So the most important group of the microorganisms are the bacteria, and most pathogenic bacteria are gram negative. We know that based on the gram staining process, we can broadly classify our bacteria into gram positive and gram negative. The gram staining technique developed by the Hans Christian Gram. So after the gram staining, our gram positive bacteria will apply in the purple color, whereas the gram negative bacteria are seen in pink color. This is mainly due to the difference in the composition of the cell wall of these gram positive and gram negative bacteria, and also the different strains of the bacteria are also used in the production of various food and dairy products also. Next major member is the fungi, whose growth on food is readily recognized by the refusee or the cottony appearance, and they are also mainly responsible for the food spoilage at room temperature and also at low pH and have minimum moisture requirements. So these fungus are involved mainly in the food spoilage because they can survive at room temperature and also at a low pH and also require only very low moisture content or water content of the food. And also they are the causative agent of many ripening of oriental fruits, and also the fungi, algae and the protozoans are also important contributors of the field of microbiology. So coming to the microorganisms or bacteria, virus, fungi, algae and protozoans are the major ones, and each of them have both positive and negative impact in relation to the food, and all these microorganisms are present everywhere. Then coming to our topic, that is our food microbiology, the different areas where the microbiology are applicable in relation with the food are the food fermentations, then the laboratory management, food hygiene, foodborne diseases, then the quality control, food spoilage, food preservation, and the water quality. So this diagram itself show that the microorganism have both positive and negative impact in the food science. That is a food fermentation. One of the positive impact of our microorganism in relation to food, that is the fermentation, is the process by which the cheap raw materials are converted into the valuable food products with the help of our microorganisms. And also when we are running a lab, we must be aware about the normal species of the microorganisms which will come in relation with the food products, and also we must have proper management practices also, and also we must have proper food hygienic practices, and also many microorganisms are the reason behind many foodborne diseases. So by studying about the food microbiology, we will get an idea about the normal species which will come in relation with each of the product, and also we can develop methods to control or to inhibit or to prevent the occurrence of that microorganisms in the food items. And also another impact is the quality control of the food products, and also we must have an awareness about the spoilage microorganism. And another impact is the food preservation. By with the help of the food microbiology, we can uh, we can develop many preservation techniques also, and also we can analyze the quality of the water also. Then coming to the various groups of the microorganisms, uh, uh, various groups of the microorganisms that are in association with the bacteria. The diagram, first one, the bacteria have both positive and negative impact. That is they are the cause of many foodborne diseases, food spoilage, food fermentation, production of food additives and enzymes. That is the negative impact is they are the causative agent of many foodborne diseases and many food spoilages. At the same time, we are involved in many food fermentation process and also used in the production of many food additives and enzymes. Then coming to the mold also, they are the reason for many foodborne diseases and the food spoilage, and at the same time they are used in the production of many single cell proteins involved in food fermentation and also the production of enzymes. So who are these single cell proteins? By definition, simply we can say that the single cell proteins are the edible microorganisms. That is, some live microorganisms can be used as either food or feed supplement. So many bacteria and the fungus can be used as a alternative of food, or they can be used as a food or feed supplement. And examples of such fungus are the Aspergillus fumigatus, Aspergillus niger, etc. And also for the bacteria, there may be the Pseudomonas species, Bacillus species, etc. So The next one is the yeast. Many yeast species are involved in the food spoilage, and some are involved in the food fermentation and also the production of food additives and the enzymes. Then coming to the viruses, many viruses are also involved in foodborne diseases and also used in the identification of the food poisoning bacteria, and also the reason for the failure of many dairy fermentation, that is the phage infection of the dairy starter cultures, remains the main cause of the fermentation failure in the dairy industry. So the diagram shows the different role played by the different microorganisms in relation with food. That is, they have both positive impact and negative impact also. Many other causative agent of many foodborne diseases and the food spoilage. At the same time, they can be used in the food fermentation, production of the food additives, used as single cell product proteins, and also used for the production of enzymes, etc. Okay, now we will see about the importance of the microorganism in food. First one is the foodborne diseases. The first and the foremost role played by the microorganisms in relation to the food is the foodborne diseases. So microbes can contaminate the food during the various stages of handling, or between the production stages, and also just before the consumption also. Finally, the consumption of such contaminated food will lead to many foodborne diseases, and this contamination can occur at any stage of the food preparation. That is, there is equal chance of contamination from the collection of raw materials up to the consumption of the food. Sometimes these foodborne diseases can be fatal and will lead to large economic losses, and the chance of contamination is more in food of animal origin than the food of the plant origin. So the first and important impact is in the foodborne diseases. Many pathogenic bacteria, either bacteria, mold, and virus, will contaminate the food during the various stages of handling or at any stage of production, and also just before the consumption. And when we consume such contaminated food, it will lead to the foodborne diseases. Sometimes it will be non-fatal, sometimes it can be fatal and will cause large economic losses. And usually the food of animal origin are more susceptible to foodborne diseases than that of the plant origin. And the chance of contamination is uniform, that it can occur at any stages, that is from the collection of the raw material, that is from the initial stage up to the consumption. There is equal chance of contamination of the food by the microorganisms. Then coming to the food spoilage, except the sterile food, all other food items have the presence of microorganisms. We have already told that the microorganisms are present everywhere. So then, except the sterile food, there is all the food items have the presence of the microorganism. Then finally, this food spoilage is due to the growth of these microorganisms or due to the action of the microbial enzymes. So when once these microorganisms enter the food, the spoilage of the resultant food will be either due to the growth and multiplication of the microorganism, or the unfavorable enzymes produced by the microorganisms, and they will start some unfavorable reactions in the food items, that will they will convert the normal food constituents to the unfavorable products, which will affect the normal texture, color, appearance, taste, etc. of the food, and the ultimate result will be the spoilage of that food items. The food spoilage will result in the wastage of the food and thereby the economic loss. And the many researchers are now going about to reduce the food contamination and also to control the growth of spoilage microbes in the food. food. So the second impact was the food spoilage, and we know that except the sterile food, and also if we are not properly sterilizing the food, then also there will be the chance of the presence of the microorganisms. And the food spoilage stems from the growth of these microorganisms in food or due to the action of the microbial enzymes. And the major concerns are the economic loss and the wastage of the food, and the new developments are going on in order to reduce this chance of contamination or to reduce the growth of the spoilage microorganisms in the food. Next one is the food bioprocessing. Many food grade microorganisms are used in the production of many valuable food products from the cheap raw materials. One of the significant role is in the fermentation of the food products. Many novel and the better strains are developed using the genetic engineering techniques, and the consumption of these foods are increasing day by day, and hence many improved techniques are developed to meet the increased requirement of the such products. So in the case of food bioprocessing, many food grade microorganisms are used to produce valuable products by the process of fermentation using microorganism. Here we are converting the cheap raw materials into valuable products, and day by day the demand for such products are increasing. And in addition, novel and the better strains are being developed by using the genetic engineering techniques also. And the consumption of these food has increased greatly over the last 15 to 20 years and is expected to increase further in the future. And the next one is the food additives. Microbial enzymes are used to produce many food and food additives by using the genetic recombination techniques, and also by using the diverse microbial sources. Enzymes of higher purity and activity are produced. Many types of the additives like the essential amino acids, color compounds, stabilizers, etc. are produced from the microbial sources and are used in food. So the next use is the production of the food additives. Microbial enzymes are used to produce many food and food additives, and by using the genetic techniques and by using diverse microbial sources, we can produce more types of the additives, and also many types of the additives from the microbial sources are being developed and used in food, and it include either essential amino acids, many color compounds, flavor compounds, stabilizers, and organic acids. Next one is the food biopreservation. Many antimicrobial metabolites of the microbial origin are also produced and used in food in place of the preservative. This will help to control the pathogenic and the spoilage microorganism, and also thereby help to prevent the ultimate food spoilage. So the next use is in the food biopreservation. Many antimicrobial metabolites, for example, the bacteriocins, acetic acid, propionic acid, and the lactic acid of desirable microorganisms are produced on large scale and also used in food in place of the preservatives. This will help to control many pathogenic and spoilage microorganisms in the food. And the economic protection of these antimicrobial compounds and their effectiveness in the food systems have generated very wide interest also. Then the next use is the probiotics. Probiotics are the live microorganisms which can be used as the food and the feed supplement. They act mainly by improving or restoring the gut flora, and mainly bacteria and yeast are used as the probiotic. And coming to the broad spectrum probiotics, they will combine different species of the microorganisms, and the examples of the probiotic food are yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, etc. So the next one is the probiotics. Probiotics, by definition, we can say that the live microorganisms are used as the food and the feed supplement. The World Health Organization defines our probiotics as the live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amount, confer a healthy benefit on the host. So they are the live microorganism which we consume in adequate amount will give us a health benefit. So they act generally by improving or restoring the gut flora, and mainly the bacteria and yeast are used as the probiotics. And what is this broad spectrum probiotics or the multi probiotics are the combination of the different species in the same product. And coming to the examples of the probiotic food are the yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, etc. So these are the major impact, and then we will directly go into the different microorganisms coming in relation with the food. The first one is our bacteria. So in bacteria, the first group is the lactic acid bacteria. The first group is the lactic acid bacteria, which will produce lactic acid from the carbohydrate. And examples are the Lactococcus and Leukinostoc species. And the lactic acid bacteria are important microorganisms which are used in the food fermentation. They contribute to the taste and the texture of many fermented food, and also help to inhibit many food spoilage bacteria by producing many growth inhibitory substances, and also by the production of large amount of the lactic acid. So coming to the microorganisms in relation to the food, first one is the bacteria. In bacteria, first we will see about the lactic acid bacteria. From the term itself, we know that they are the group of bacteria that will produce large quantity of the lactic acid from the carbohydrate. Examples are the Lactococcus, Leukinostoc, Pediococcus, etc. And also they are mainly used in the food fermentation, and also they contribute to the taste and texture of many fermented food products, and also help to inhibit many spoilage of bacteria. And it is mainly due to the production of many inhibitory substances, and also due to the production of the large quantity of the lactic acid by these lactic acid bacteria. Next one is the acetic acid bacteria. They will produce acetic acid, and example is the Acetobacter aceti, and they are the important microorganisms in the food industry because of their ability to oxidize many types of the sugar and alcohols to the organic acid as end products during the fermentation process. And also they are mainly used in the vinegar production also. And the next group was the acetic acid bacteria, which are able to produce acetic acid. The example is the Acetobacter aceti, and they are also used in fermentation, and also mainly used in the production of the vinegar. And the next one is the propionic acid bacteria, who will produce propionic acid and are also used in the dairy fermentation process, and includes the species of the Propionibacterium fraudenrichi. And also the propionic acid bacteria inhibit the growth of the mold and various bacteria, and also used as a preservative for food, animal feed, and grains. So that group was the propionic acid bacteria, which will produce the propionic acid and mainly used in the dairy fermentation process. And example is the Propionibacterium fraudenrichi. And also they are used as a preservative for the preservation of foods, animal feed, and grains. So the next group is the butyric acid bacteria. They will produce the butyric acid in relatively large amounts. So this butyric acid bacteria, the group of bacteria which will produce the butyric acid in high amount, and example is the Clostridium butyricum. For human body, there are two sources of the butyric acid. So coming to the human body, there are two sources of the butyric acid. First, it can come from the diet that we eat, or it is synthesized by bacteria in colon during the fermentation process of the non-digestible fibers. And these butyric acid have many health benefits. They act as anti-cancerogen, help to reduce the chance of heart attack, etc. So the next group was the butyric acid bacteria, which will produce the butyric acid in high amount. Example is the Clostridium butyricum. And also the butyric acid have many health benefits. They act as the anti-carcinogenic agent and also reduce the chance of heart attack. And the next one is the proteolytic bacteria and are capable of hydrolyzing the proteins due to the production of the extracellular proteins. And the examples are the Micrococcus, Staphylococcus, Bacillus, Clostridium, Pseudomonas, etc. So these proteolytic bacteria are capable of hydrolyzing the proteins due to the production of the extracellular proteinase enzyme. Examples are the Micrococcus, Staphylococcus, etc. And the next one is the lipolytic bacteria. They are able to hydrolyze the triglycerides due to the production of the extracellular lipases. And the examples are the Micrococcus, Pseudomonas, Staphylococcus, etc. And the variation in the meat fat occur due to the growth of the aerobic lipolytic bacteria responsible for secreting various lipase enzymes. So, which cause the disintegration of the unsaturated fatty acids and thereby leading to the offensive odor. So, these lipolytic bacteria have the ability to hydrolyze the triglycerides due to the production of some extracellular lipases, and examples are the Micrococcus, Staphylococcus, Pseudomonas, etc. And the variation in the meat fat occur due to the growth of some aerobic lipolytic bacteria which are responsible for secreting various lipase enzymes which will cause the disintegration of the unsaturated fatty acids and thereby leading to some unfavorable odors. And the next group is the thermoduric bacteria. They are able to survive the pasteurization temperature and will cause the quality and shelf life issues in many dairy products. And the example is Micrococcus, Enterococcus, etc. And the next group was the thermoduric bacteria. They have the ability to survive the pasteurization temperature. So they have the ability to survive the pasteurization temperature, and the examples of the Micrococcus, Enterococcus, etc. And thereby they will cause the quality and shelf life issues in dairy products. Since they have the ability to survive the pasteurization temperature, they are the cause of many dairy product spoilage or the contamination. And the next one is the halotolerant bacteria which are able to survive on high salt concentration and thereby leading to the spoilage of many food items. Examples are the Bacillus and the Staphylococcus, that is the halotolerant bacteria. They are able to survive at a high salt concentration, and the examples are the Bacillus and the Staphylococcus. Then coming to the acidic bacteria, they are able to survive at a low pH, that is the pH below 4. And the examples of such bacteria are the Lactobacillus and the Pediococcus. Next, coming to the gas producing bacteria, they have the ability to produce the gases like carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide during the metabolism of many nutrients. And the examples are the Leuconostoc, Lactobacillus, and the Escherichia. So these gas producing bacteria like Leuconostoc or Lactobacillus will produce gases like carbon dioxide, hydrogen or hydrogen sulfide during the metabolism of the nutrients present in the food items. And the next one is the slime producers, which produce slime due to the synthesis of the polysaccharides, and this slime will help to protect such bacteria from the antibiotics and also from the desiccation process, and it will help to adhere to the smooth surface. So another important group are the slime producers. These have the ability to produce the slime layer over them, and this is mainly due to the synthesis of these polysaccharides, and the production of such slime layer is really helpful to that bacteria, which will help to them to easily adhere to the smooth surface and also help them to protect themselves from the antibiotics and also from the desiccation process also. And examples of such strains are the Xanthomonas and the Leuconostocs. Next group is the spore formers. So what are these spores? So the endospores. Spores are the resistant dormant structures produced by the bacteria during the adverse conditions. So the spores are some resistant dormant forms which are produced by the bacteria when the condition or the environmental situation are not favorable for them to grow. And this will help them to survive in unfavorable situation. When the situation becomes favorable, they will normally develop into the normal vegetative form and will start the normal rate of growth and metabolism. So these spore formers are the group of bacteria which have the ability to produce spores. Then what are these spores? Spores are some dormant forms which are produced by these bacteria in order to protect them from the adverse condition. When the nutrient there is deficiency, then they will convert into the spore form. And when the conditions becomes favorable, then they will generate into the normal vegetative form and start the normal rate of growth and the metabolism. And the examples of such species are the bacillus and the Clostridium species. And next is the aerobes. So we know that based on the requirement of the oxygen, we can divide the bacteria into aerobes, anaerobes, and the facultative and anaerobes. The first one is the aerobes, which will require oxygen for the growth and multiplication. That is, the aerobes can survive only in the presence of the oxygen. Their normal rate of growth and multiplication will occur only in the presence of the oxygen. And examples of such species are the Pseudomonas, Bacillus, Flavobacterium, etc. Then obviously, who are these anaerobes? They cannot grow in the presence of oxygen. They prefer an anaerobic condition for their normal growth and multiplication. And example is the Clostridium. So in the previous slide itself, we have showed that the Clostridium and are the spore formers, and also they are anaerobes. So that is why the Clostridium is one of the most important species involved in the spoilage of the food items, and also they are mainly the reason behind the spoilage of many tinned foods, that is many canned food, since they have the ability to survive the anaerobic situation and also have the ability to produce the spores. They can survive, and also they are the reason behind the Clostridium botulinum is the reason behind the foodborne disease, that is the botulism, and sometimes it may be fatal. And the next group is the facultative anaerobes. They are the groups which are able to grow both in presence and in the absence of the oxygen. So they can survive when there is either oxygen present, or if there is no oxygen, they can survive both the situation. They can grow and multiply in both in the presence and in the absence of the oxygen. And examples of such group are the Lactobacillus, Pediococcus, and the Leuconostoc. The next group is the coliforms. They include mainly the species of Escherichia, Enterobacter, and the Klebsiella, and they are mainly used as an index of the sanitation. And the next coliform is the fecal coliforms, and mainly include our E. coli, and it is also used as an index of the sanitation. If the fecal coliforms are present in an item, it's the inference is that the product is fecally contaminated. And the next is the enteric pathogens, which include pathogens like the Salmonella, Shigella, Campylobacter, Yersinia, Escherichia, Vibrio, etc. And they are the main reason behind the gastrointestinal infections. So that is all about the different groups of bacteria coming in relation with the food. Then we will move on to the fungus. That is, then coming to the fungus, Aspergillus. Aspergillus species is one of the most important one in relation to the food. So the first group is the Aspergillus species, and they are one of the most important species of fungus which come in relation with the food, and they are widely distributed, and many of them are able to grow in low water activity also. And they are one of the main reason of the spoilage of the jam, grains, nuts, fruits, etc. And one species of the Aspergillus, that is a Aspergillus flavel, are the main producers of the aflatoxins, which is one of the major mycotoxin which will lead to many foodborne illness. And at the same time, many species of the Aspergillus are also used in the food and food additive processing. So from moving to the fungus, the first group was our Aspergillus species. They are widely distributed and they contain many species that are very important in relation with the food. And one of the more major factor or one of the important character of this Aspergillus is that they are able to grow in low water activity. That is, they can grow in low moisture content food also. And also they are the reason of the spoilage of many grains, and also they will cause the spoilage of the foods like jams, nuts, fruits, etc. And coming to the Aspergillus flavors, they have the ability to produce the mycotoxin, that is the aflatoxin, which will lead to the foodborne illness. At the same time, many species or strains of the Aspergillus are also used in the food and food additive processing. The next species is the Alternaria, which is a septate and also form dark brown colored conidia. So the Alternaria species are mainly septate forms and also have the ability to form dark brown colored conidia. And also they cause tomato rolls and also rancid flavor in many dairy products. So the next species was the Alternaria. They are mainly septate and form dark brown colored conidia on the conidia, and also they are the reason behind the tomato rods and also cause rancid flavor in many dairy products. And then coming to the Geotrichum species, which are they are also septate and form the rectangular asexual arthrospores, and also mainly found in many equipments and also causes spoilage of the dairy products and also known as the dairy mold. So the next group was the Geotrichum. They are the hyphae of the Geotrichum are septate and they will form rectangular asexual arthropods. They have the ability to establish easily in many equipments. So they are the reason behind the contamination or the spoilage of many dairy products, and hence they got the name as the dairy mold. And the next one is the mucor, and they have non-septate hyphae and they will produce the sporangiosperms. And some species are used in the food fermentation and also in the enzyme production, whereas some will cause the spoilage of the vegetables. And so the next one was the mucor, and they also have non-septate hyphae and will produce sporangiophytes. And some mucor species will used in the food fermentation and also in the production of the enzymes. At the same time, some will cause the spoilage of the vegetables. So the next species is a Penicillium, which have the septate hyphae and will form the conidiophores on a green brush-like conidia. So the Penicillium species have septate hyphae and also they will form conidiophores on a blue-green brush-like conidia head. Some species are used in the food production. Example is the Penicillium roqueforti and the Penicillium camemberti, which are used in the cheese production. Whereas many species will cause the fungal rot in the fruits and the vegetables. That is the about the Penicillium species. And next one is about the Rhizopus, and the Rhizopus also have a septate hyphae and they will form sporangiophores in the sporangium, and they are the main cause of the spoilage of many fruits and vegetables. And the Rhizopus stolonifer is the common black bread mold. So the Rhizopus species have hyphae, septate hyphae, and also they form sporangiophores in the sporangium, and they are involved in the spoilage of many fruits and vegetables, and they are the common black bread mold. So that's all about the fungal species. Then coming to the east, the first and foremost species is the Saccharomyces species. In the east, the first and foremost one is our Saccharomyces species, which contain heterogeneous group, and the cells are round, oval, or elongated. And the main application is that they are mainly used in the leavening of the bread and also used in the alcohol fermentation. But at the same time, some species are involved in spoilage of the food and also in the production of the alcohol and carbon dioxide. So first and foremost is species is a Saccharomyces. The cells are very round, oval or elongated, and it is one of the most important genes and contain many heterogeneous group. And then coming to the Saccharomyces cerevisiae, they are mainly used in the leavening of the bread process and also used in the alcoholic fermentation, and also they are involved in the spoilage of the food and also used in the production of the alcohol and carbon dioxide. Next one is the Rhodotorula. They are pigment producing yeast and also cause the discoloration of the meat, fish, etc. And the micro and the main important species is the Rhodotorula glutenis. So coming to Rhodotorula, they are the pigment producing forms and can cause the discoloration of food such as meat, fish, sauerkraut, etc. And major species the Rhodotorula glutenis. Then coming to Torulopsis, they have spherical to oval structure and they will cause the spoilage of the milk also, and also the spoilage of the fruit juice and the acid foods. The Torulopsis have spherical to oval structure involved in the spoilage of the milk, fruit juice, and also the acid foods. Then coming to the Candida species, they are involved in the food with a high acid, salt, and the sugar. And the significant character of this Candida is the formation of a pellicle on the liquid surface, so that it can be easily identified. And some species like the Candida lipolytica will cause rancidity in the butter and the dairy products. So the coming to the Candida, they will spoil the food with high acid, salt, and sugar, and they can be easily identified due to the formation of a pellicle on the surface of the liquid, and some will cause the rancidity in the butter and the dairy product, and example is the Candida lipolytica. Next is Zygosaccharomyces, which is involved in the spoilage of the honey, syrups, molasses, soy sauce, etc. And example is Zygosaccharomyces nussbaumeri, and they can grow in high concentration of the solutes. So that is all about the yeast species. And then coming to the viruses. In recent years, viruses have been increasingly recognized as the important cause of foodborne diseases. Then coming to the viruses, hepatitis A and the Novak viruses are involved in the foodborne outbreaks. Poliovirus, echovirus, and the Coxsackie viruses are also the potential cause of many foodborne diseases. And the viral contamination mainly occur through the contact with the infected person. So major carrier are the infected persons. And also sometimes it may be zoonotic. They may be directly transferred to the host from the animals. So these are all about the major groups of the microorganisms coming in relation with the food. So another important area in relation with the food is the factors affecting the growth of microorganisms in food. So the majority of the food materials are obtained mainly from either the plant or the animal sources, as we all know. And it is rich in different types of the microorganisms. The microorganisms are ubiquitous or present everywhere. So such food products will be always rich in different types of the microorganisms. And depending on the type of microorganisms, the growth of many organisms in the food can result in either improving the overall quality of the food, or sometimes they will deteriorate the quality of the food. So since the food contains vast variety of the microorganisms, sometimes the presence of this microorganism will improve their quality, or sometimes which will destroy them. So the growth of microorganisms in the food is mainly dependent on various parameters. So once a microorganism enter into the food, their further growth or survival will definitely depend on many parameters, and the factors influencing the growth may be either physical, chemical, or biological. And broadly we can classify such factors as the intrinsic and the extrinsic factors. So the growth and survival of a microorganism in the food will be dependent on either the intrinsic factors or the will depend on both these intrinsic and the extrinsic factors. So first we will see about the intrinsic factors. So Coming to the intrinsic factors, they are the parameters which are present in the substrate in which the microorganisms are growing. So they are the internal factors in the food which will influence the growth of or the survival of the microorganisms. So which are the intrinsic factors? They are the pH, water activity, redox potential, composition of the nutrients, inhibitory substances, and the biological structures. Now we will see each factors. First one is the pH. So we all know that it is a negative logarithm of the hydrogen ion concentration, and all microorganisms have a minimal, maximal, and optimal pH for their growth or their survival and the activity of their enzymes. And the growth of microorganisms is mainly influenced by the pH of the medium, and also the food having the acidic contents will mainly promote the growth of yeast, mold, etc., whereas the bacteria will prefer the neutral pH, that is the pH between 7 to 7.5. So the first factor was the pH, and the next one is the water activity. The amount of the water required vary for the different groups of the microorganisms. So the water requirement of the microorganisms can be expressed in terms of the water activity. By definition, we can say that the water activity is the Weber pressure of the solution divided by the Weber pressure of the solvent. And the most of the food spoilage bacteria cannot grow below a water activity of the 0.91, whereas a spoilage mold will grow even at a water activity of about 0.80. So that is all about the water activity. Then coming to the redox potential, the redox potential, the oxidizing and the reducing power of a food. So the oxidizing and the reducing power of a food will influence the type of the organs and also the chemical changes produced in the food by that microorganism, and the concentration of the oxygen in food, their chemical composition, and the type of microorganisms associated will contribute to the oxidation reduction potential of the food and also affect the growth of the microorganisms in the food. Next is the composition of the nutrients. As we all know, one of the important factor which affect the growth and survival of the microorganisms in a food item is the definitely it will be the nutrient composition of that food. So nutrients are one of the important factor influencing the growth and functioning of the microorganism in food. And the most important energy sources are the carbohydrate, and also some microorganisms will require either vitamins and other growth factors for their survival or their metabolism. Another important constituent is the water, and all these factors will influence the growth of microorganisms in the food. And the next one is the presence of some inhibitory substances. Sometimes they may be either naturally present or we will purposefully add such inhibitory substances in order to prevent the growth of some contaminating bacteria. Some plants, for example of the naturally occurring the inhibitory substances, are some plant species will contain essential oil which will act as an antimicrobial agent and prevent the growth of these organisms. And next is the biological structure. Natural covering of some food will provide an excellent protection of uh, excellent protection from the microorganisms. So some the natural covering of the food will act as an excellent barrier or protection from the microorganisms. Examples are the cover of egg, skin of poultry, and also the rind of the fruits and vegetables, and also the shelf of the nuts. So the some biological structures like the covering of the egg, the skin of the poultry, and also the rind of the fruits and vegetables, and also the shell of the nuts, etc. So these are the intrinsic factors affecting the growth of microorganisms in food. Okay, then moving to the extrinsic factors, or the factors which are affecting, so the external factors, and the first and foremost one is the relative humidity. And the relative humidity of our storage environment, it will influence the growth of microorganisms. When a food with a low water activity is placed in high relative humidity environment, the food will take more moisture, and also vice versa, it can also occur. And the second factor is the temperature. As we all know that one of the important external factor which will affect the growth of the microorganisms or the survival of the microorganisms in the food is the definitely the temperature. We know that on the basis of the temperature or the temperature range they can survive. We can classify the microbes as psychrophiles, mesophiles, and the thermophiles, whereas a psychrophile will prefer a temperature of 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, whereas the mesophiles about 30 to 45 degrees Celsius, and the thermophile about 55 to 65 degrees Celsius. And many mold will grow at refrigerated temperature. Examples are the aspergillus, cladosporium, etc. Whereas the yeast will prefer the psychrotropic and the mesophilic temperature. So one of the most important factor that affect the important extrinsic factor that influence the growth, metabolism, and the survival of the microorganisms in food will be definitely the temperature. Then the next factor is the atmospheric gases like oxygen. Carbon dioxide is also used to control the microorganisms in the food, and also ozone has high antimicrobial properties, and the ozone level or the ozone will help to extend the shelf life of many food items. And the next factor is the presence of other microbial flora. The microorganisms present in the food can undergo various types of the negative interaction. They will inhibit the growth of many microorganisms. So many mold species have the ability to produce toxic secondary metabolites like the antibiotics, which will inhibit the growth of bacteria, and some foodborne organisms will produce inhibitor substances like bacteriocin, hydrogen peroxide, and the organic acid. So these are the intrinsic and extrinsic factors which influence the growth and the survival of the microorganisms in food. Okay, then coming to the significance of the food microbiology. So many foodborne diseases are of microbial origin. So the field of microbiology or the science of food microbiology help us to get an idea about the microbes, and also this will help to prevent the growth of such microorganisms or help us to develop preventive measures or help give us an idea how to inhibit such microorganisms. And also it will also give us an idea about many spoilage microorganisms also. And another important use is that we will get a clear idea about the beneficial uses of the microorganisms in food. We will have more idea about the fermentation or the production of new valuable products with the help of the microorganisms. And also we will help us to control the growth of many pathogens or the microorganisms in food, and they help us to distract or the microorganisms in the food, and also help us to give an idea about the food fermentation with the help of our microorganism, and also give idea about the probiotic bacteria. By the development of the probiotic or single cell proteins, we have the idea that we can use the microorganisms itself as the food or the feed aspect, food or the feed supplement, and also have a regulatory aspect to ensure the consumers related to the microbial hazards in the food. So these are the significance. And then coming to the applications, it will provide us with the information about the different types of the microorganisms, and also used as a microorganisms as the food, and also used the microorganisms are used in the production of the large number of the fermented food. One of the important positive impact of these microorganisms, and also mainly used in the preservation techniques of many food items, and also have idea about the microbial disease and help to reduce the microbial disease or to develop the control measure against these microbial disease. And also the industrial application, many microorganisms are used in the industrial scale production of many valuable products. And next is the energy from the microbial source. A number of substrate can be used as a source of energy by the methanogenic microorganisms like methanobacterium or the methanococcus. And also the food microbiology study the interaction between the food and with the microorganisms and their environment to ensure the food safety, quality, and the value of the food items. And also this will help to develop the methods to preserve the food items, and also help to prevent the food spoilage. And also food can be considered in media for the microbial, so the food can be considered as a media for the microbial growth, and if given a chance to grow, the microbes will definitely grow and produce some unfavorable changes. So with the help of the study of food microbiology, we can develop many control measures to prevent the growth of this microorganism, and also we can develop